Debates, mergers, and saving some failing schools. I'm Charlie Sykes. Sunday Insight starts right now. Good morning and welcome to Sunday Insight. In the week that was, the Department of Justice says there will be no charges in the police shooting of Dontre Hamilton. The Packers dropped 2 straight games but have a chance to rebound this afternoon against Detroit. In the business world, the parent company of Roundy's purchased by Kroger and Miller Coors swallowed by Molson Coors. A flag burning and the response by Milwaukee police wins national attention. And the University of Missouri's president is forced to resign after protests on campus. But we start this morning with the GOP debate. Milwaukee was center stage for the 4th Republican debate, which actually turned out to be a substantive clash on actual issues for a change.
For the life of me, I don't know why we have stigmatized vocational education. Welders make more money than philosophers. We need more welders and less philosophers. And if we do that,
we should vet all candidates. I have no problem with being vetted. What I do have a problem with is being lied about and then putting that out there as truth.
We're not going to be the world's policeman, but we sure as heck better be the world's leader.
We have a country that's going to hell. We have an infrastructure that's falling apart, our roads, our bridges, our schools, our airports, and we have to start investing money in our country.
But for the 11 million people, come on, folks, we all know you can't pick them up and ship them back across the border. It's a silly argument. It's not an adult argument. It makes no sense.
And as usual, the pundits were quick to weigh in on who won, who lost, and who disappeared. And we're going to be doing the same thing this morning. Joining me on our panel, the Milwaukee Community Journal's Michael Holt, former State Representative Michelle Litchens, Defense Attorney Dan Adams, and the managing editor of RightWisconsin.com, Colin Roth. Now, Michelle Litchens, you were actually there. You were in the theater. Who were the biggest winners of the night, do you think?
I think the biggest winners, well, I think everyone who didn't really screw up. But I think we saw Rubio really shine. We saw Ted Cruz really shine. Carly Fiorina did a great job. Rand Paul did well, but I think we also learned that most of us really disagree with his foreign policy, so I don't know if it would say that he was a winner or not.
Okay, there seemed to be kind of a universal assumption that, opinion, that the moderators did a reasonably good job, especially in contrast to CNBC. I did think it was a more substantive debate.
It absolutely was. Yeah. But the flip side of that is I think it was a draw. Yeah. I think everybody came in with an expectation of how they do. I mean, nobody screwed up. And frankly, when there's a draw, the people who are winning going into that situation win. So unfortunately for the GOP, Trump and Cruz are still, or excuse me, Carson are still on top.
Okay, your take.
Yeah, I agree. The moderators were outstanding. You really got the sense that we were having a substantive debate on issues that matter to people, talking about jobs, economy, taxes, manufacturing, infrastructure, as well as, and I don't disagree with your assessment. I think Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz probably won this debate, but they're set up to win this debate. They're both very, very good debaters.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the things that struck me as I was watching them. Also with the undercard, you have some really gifted debaters. I mean, we're not going to be talking about it much, but Chris Christie is still a gifted debater, obviously won the undercard. And Cruz and Rubio are just so much better than everybody else. It may not make a difference, but your take on this, Michael Holt?
Yeah, I basically agree. You know, Rubio is moving up, and I think he's probably eventually going to be the nominee. It was interesting, and I was listening to your show on Friday, how Trump has really started attacking Ben Carson, and I don't know if Carson is Teflon, but I don't think it's going to bode well for Donald Trump.
Well, it was interesting that you bring that up because at the debate, Trump avoided engaging in personal attacks, and he didn't attack Carson. Nobody attacked Carson. And then Trump goes to Iowa on Thursday and goes on this 95-minute rant attacking Ben Carson. Whether or not you support Ben Carson or not, Ben Carson actually has the highest approval ratings of any of the candidates. We're going to see how that...
and he called the people in Iowa stupid.
Yes.
Well, that should
the
work.
Voters.
Michelle, you were there in the audience. We talked about this on my radio show on Friday. I was struck by a couple of things, how engaged that audience became. But it was also a Midwestern audience, polite audience, and they booed. They booed Donald Trump twice.
And he deserved it. And he deserved a very loud boo. Like you were talking about, the audience was very respectful when they were asked to sit down at the beginning of it. Everyone sat there and they listened, but they really participated. You don't always hear that at home, but the audience, they cheered, they were laughing, they were clapping, and they were engaged. I have to say though, as a Republican, finally, you know, they really raised the bar when it comes to debates, because we learned, like Colin just said, we learned what they thought about foreign policy and taxes.
A lot of the national, I was watching this on social media, a lot of the national commentators were a little bit surprised by the audience, because they did seem to be very friendly to Rubio. This was not a Donald Trump audience. They not only booed Donald Trump, I was actually more surprised by the fact that they started laughing at him when he starts mentioning his wall and the businesses he built. And they weren't laughing with him, they were kind of laughing at him. And it kind of made you wonder whether or not the shtick was getting old. But it did say something about, I don't know, the mood in that room. I mean, I think they were friendly to Bush. I think that they were friendly to Rubio.
I think they were we were just polite. We were Midwestern polite to everyone up on stage, and I think people really wanted to hear what the candidates had to say, because a lot of people are still undecided.
Yeah, well, and again, just think of the people we didn't mention. Everybody said that Jeb Bush needed a big breakthrough debate. We're not even talking about it. I think he did well. I think he did okay. Did he change the trajectory of his campaign? Probably not. Carly Fiorina, continues to have good moments in the debate, but afterwards, is she the candidate that people are talking about? Not really. So what is your glass half full? What is your glass half empty this week? Let's go around the table. Michael Holt, you're first.
Well, my glass is half full because 2 Republican presidential candidates finally used the B and the P words during last week's debate. My glass is half empty because they didn't address how to improve the quality of life for Black Americans, that's the B, or how to reduce the poverty rate for the poor, that's the P.
Michelle Litchens.
My glass is half empty because an idiot protester decided to burn an American flag outside of the Republican debate Tuesday night. It is half full because 3 Milwaukee police officers showed their true colors by properly retiring the charred flag.
Dan Adams.
My glass is half empty this week because there were 2 train derailments in Wisconsin, one resulting in nearly 20,000 gallons of ethanol being spilled into the Mississippi River. My glass is half full because maybe these accidents will spur Congress to take action on the Crude by Rail Safety Act proposed by Congressman Ron Kinesinger Baldwin. The last thing Milwaukee needs is a train carrying crude oil derailing in the 3rd Ward.
And then there's this thing called pipelines. Colin Roth.
My glass is half full because the Milwaukee Recovery District has already proven valuable at changing the education atmosphere in the city. It's half empty because the appointment of Dr. DeMond Means as commissioner disarmed this proposal of its chief asset, independence from MPS.
Well, my glass is half empty because the protesters trampled on and tried to burn an American flag during those demonstrations outside the Republican debate last Tuesday. And as Michelle said, it's half full because of the quick work of the Milwaukee police officers on the scene who put out the fire and then respectfully recovered and folded the flag. The video of that small ceremony has gone viral, and deservedly so. Next on Sunday Inside, big buyouts from Milwaukee companies. What will happen to their headquarters and employees? Big buyouts in the world of business. In an $800 million deal, grocery giant Kroger acquires the parent company of Roundy's, which operates Pick and Save and World Market. And in the beer world, a $12 billion deal that will make Molson Coors the sole owner of Miller Coors, which is a joint venture created back in 2008. Now that in turn will clear the way for SAB Miller to be acquired by Anheuser-Busch. Now, you're following all this at home? You may need a scorecard. Miller Coors headquarters is in Chicago now, but it has split its other corporate employees between Golden, Colorado and Milwaukee, reflecting the legacies of Coors Brewing Company and Miller Brewing Company. The bottom line here is the future of those offices, both Roundy's and Miller's, now very much in doubt. So I guess the question is this good news, bad news? If it's bad news, how bad is it for Milwaukee?
I think in the near term, it's bad news. I mean, go to a charity event, whether it's black tie or a 5K or whatever it is, you always have that list of corporate donors. And if the headquarters isn't in Milwaukee, or if the big corporate center isn't in Milwaukee, you don't have those stakeholders who are going to be engaged in the nonprofit and civic centers. That being said, people who embrace market economics, as I do, believe in creative destruction. But what we're not seeing is creative creation. And so we need to encourage small businesses here to start filling the gaps where these existing companies are
there's going to
leaving.
have to be a challenge. Now, somebody was in the business committee was going through about how this is the way the market operates, and it's nothing we have any control over. But he made this analogy. He said, it's like with the Bucks. You don't need to have a major, an NBA team to be a major league city. but if you lose it, it hurts. It's a stigma. You don't need necessarily have 15 corporate headquarters in Milwaukee, but if you start losing them, it is not good. Michael Holt?
Well, I can agree with that. But, I think Miller will always have a presence here. There are some concerns about their charitable contributions and involvement. But, as long as you're going to have Miller Park, you're going to have, Miller here. Now, as to the Roundy's thing, I think that will be good for the market because there'll be more competition.
How does that work?
Well, I mean, everybody's moving to Milwaukee in terms of food today. You get the Myers, and you have the Walmart, and you have that Woodman's. Everybody's competing, so these prices are going to come down.
Again, I understand that this happens in the world of business, but right now we've been kind of hit a couple of times here, and I'm thinking of the mid-level employees, the corporate office employees, the people who are the lawyers, the accountants. These are the folks who buy the tickets to the Bucks games. These are the people who go to the symphony. These are the people who contribute to the cultural life and to the charities in this community. And at some point, it's going to hurt to lose these jobs.
It is going to hurt to lose these jobs. This is not good for the city of Milwaukee at all. We have the brewers, for goodness sakes, right? You want to continue to have beer brewing going on in the city of Milwaukee, but like you were saying, the people who spend the money, who donate to the charities, those are your corporate officers, so we need to keep them here.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. In the near term, it's not a good thing for a lot of those white-collar and blue-collar jobs, but listen, it just underscores the need for legislatures, policymakers, and business to come together to just create a better business climate in the state.
Well, I know that we can do that, but it's also acknowledged that there's a limited amount of things that we can do in creating a business climate. I mean, there's a global economy, there's a national economy. We didn't have any control over what Oscar Myers did. I don't know if there's anything the legislature, the governor can do about this. But you made an interesting point here that in terms of the free market, that if you lose big companies, you want to clear, like the forest clearing away to have the underbrush rise up, you have entrepreneurial explosion. And this is the one thing that this community has never really excelled at. We excel at a lot of things, but we've never had a dynamic entrepreneurial climate.
We don't teach that in our universities, that it's okay to get out, do something, fail, try again, build wealth. People want to come out of school in Wisconsin and immediately have, an $80,000 a year job.
Well, I think this is part of the debate that we have to have is, how are we going to generate that kind of entrepreneurial spirit and build those kinds of smaller businesses? Now, you may not want to hear it. We'll tell you anyway. Let's hand out some unsolicited advice. Michael Holt, you are first.
Well, mine is to the ministers who are calling for a boycott of Starbucks because the chain has taken, quote, Christ out of Christmas. Actually, the chain never had Jesus on its coffee cups. Also, if you're going to boycott Starbucks, do so because of their outrageous prices.
Michelle Lynchins.
My advice is for President Obama. If you really want to protect the environment from oil and gas spills, build the Keystone Pipeline.
Yeah, Dan Adams.
Well, if you read one thing about Milwaukee's future, read last week's Journal Sentinel op-ed by Discovery World Museum CEO Joel Brennan, who makes a persuasive case to challenge the status quo and maximize the cultural value of Milwaukee's amazing lakeshore.
Colin Roth.
My advice is for college professors around the country. Google Professor John McAdams and learn something about courage and free speech before it's too late.
Well, my unsolicited advice is to the candidates, to Jeb Bush and Ben Carson. Before the next debate, try some Red Bull. To John Kasich, next time, try some decaf. Next on Sunday Insight, the new commissioner for the MPS Recovery District. What will he do to turn around struggling schools? A big move on school reform, or maybe not. You might remember the legislature created a special opportunity district that was designed to help fix and turn around failing Milwaukee schools. The new district will be run by County Executive Chris Abele, who last week named Mequon-Thiensville Superintendent Damon Means to be the new superintendent of the so-called Recovery District. But Means immediately made it clear that he would do whatever the MPS superintendent and the board wanted him to do. Colin Roth, you wrote last week those comments mean that Abele's choice has, your words, disarmed the Recovery District of its power for reform. What did you mean?
Well, key word in that proposal is opportunity district, and we have an opportunity here to really take on the challenges of some of those failing schools in Milwaukee. But one of the chief assets of that was independence. We want the legislature created this proposal so they could get this out of MPS's hands. MPS wasn't doing anything with those 55 failing schools, and so Chris Abele was given this opportunity, and he brought in someone who basically said on his first day on the job that he's going to work and do whatever MPS Dr. Darren Driver and the school board.
But why? You have an opportunity to fix failing schools. Who's in favor of failing schools? Why wouldn't Abley have taken that, you know, as an opportunity to accomplish something?
Well, Abley's in a tricky spot here in terms of his primary and election next year, and I think what he doesn't want to do, he's lost the teachers union, but I don't think he wants to lose the MPS school board. And
okay, you've seen this show before, haven't you, Michael Holt?
I'm guardedly optimistic, but I kind of agree with you because I don't know what they're going to do. They're talking about wraparound services. The county can do that already. I mean, you don't have to prop somebody up to say it's affecting schools. And then there's a question about, can the county do anything? Are they going to, you know, decrease poverty in Milwaukee? I mean, what are they going to force men back into the homes? What essentially are they going to do?
Okay, here's my question. When is the last time we had an elected political leader from Milwaukee who showed any interest in actually fixing the Milwaukee public schools?
Well, they all say they're interested in it.
They all say they do.
I know Michael Bonds, and you know, they are doing something with some of the 55 schools because they're putting Kerman in one of them, and that will reverse it.
Now that wouldn't have happened. That may not have happened without the pressure on this, but again, I mean, the guy comes out and basically says, yeah, I'm not into charter, I'm not into choice schools, I'm going to work with MPS. So what was the point?
Yeah, no, but if he would have said that, you know, Chris Larson would have jumped on Chris Abley really quick.
Yeah, so he's going to anyway.
Abley would have lost any support that he had from MPS supporters. And so I understand why he chose someone that was this safe, but I still have high hopes that they will make some changes for those poor kids in the schools that don't know how to read.
I think this was a terrific choice, and you don't have to take my word for it. I mean, listen to Alberta Darling, who was the architect of this law. She came out and said this is a terrific choice. This is a guy who works in her district for Mequon Schools, although he is an African-American guy who is an MPS graduate. He has the kids.
But everybody what they're doing is everybody likes the choice. The question is, will it do something?
Is he going to lead with a rhetorical bomb throwing? I mean, how does that help him build anything?
What I'm saying is, they're going to have a new African-American department, so give it to them.
Okay, but you know what? I'm glad you mentioned this, because here again shows your low expectations that you're willing to accept going through the motions. We've been doing this virtual reality reform where everybody, both parties, stand up and they pose for holy pictures and they say, look, we've actually done something. When you actually look at it and you go, no, you're not actually doing anything. You know, you had your press conference, you had your press releases, everybody says something. But I mean, I agree with Colin. The moment that Damon Means came out and basically said, I'm going to work with, you know, I have no intention of doing anything that MPS doesn't want me to do. Well, then what was the point? Really?
Well, the architecture of this district was very limited and modest, and he's stepping into it before this April election saying, I'm going to work.
Do you know why it was so limited? I mean, the bottom line, why would a Republican legislature have given this power to a liberal Democrat like Chris Abley? Because quite literally, there was no other local leader they could have turned to. There's nobody that was willing to take this on, which really says something about the quality of leadership in Milwaukee. What is it you don't get? Let's go around the table. Michael Holt.
What I don't get is how Caitlyn Jenner accepted the Glamour magazine Woman of the Year award. Last week, she still have male genitalia?
Oh, you went there. Okay, Michelle Litchens.
Charlie, why is it when someone tells Hillary Clinton that they want to strangle Carly Fiorina when she speaks, or every time she speaks, it's funny, but if someone said they wanted to strangle Hillary when she speaks, it would have been national news?
Dan Adams.
I don't get how many Wisconsin Republicans attended local Veterans Day events, yet under current election laws they drafted, Veterans Administration ID cards aren't valid proof of identity to vote in our state elections.
Colin Roth.
Well, what I don't get is why liberal state Supreme Court candidate Joanne Kloppenberg endorsed a candidate for judge in Dane County who said shoplifting at big box stores shouldn't be prosecuted.
Oh, yes, you do. Well, organizers of the Million Student March are demanding free college tuition, the cancellation of all student debt, and a $15 minimum wage. What I don't get is, who do they think will pay for all of this? Next on Sunday Inside, our panel picks the winners and losers of the week. But first, here's your morning news update. It's time for our panel to pick the winners and losers of the week. Michael Holt, you're first.
The winner, the University of Missouri football team and coaches who led a successful boycott that ended with the resignations of the president and chancellor for their fair or unwillingness to address decades-old bigotry at the university. Losers, maybe Donald Trump was partially right about Fox News reporter Megyn Kelly. If you listen to her news report on the Missouri protest, you would think the black students were thugs and anarchists instead of victims of systemic racism.
Michelle Litchens.
My winner is the USS Milwaukee. This ship was built by Wisconsinites in Marinette, and it will be commissioned Saturday the 21st right here in Milwaukee. So come down this week and see what Wisconsin's hard work looks like, and take a tour and get your ticket to the ceremony. My loser is Democrat Representative Melissa Sargent. She proposed hygiene equality. Yes, she wants taxpayers to provide feminine hygiene products in every public building from schools to courthouses in the state. At least she's honest about what she wants to do.
Dan Adams.
My winners this week are the Milwaukee police officers who alertly used a fire extinguisher to stop the unsafe burning of a flag by some moron protester downtown. My losers, protesters across our college campuses who seem lobotomized by political correctness, with ideas the true and sound will survive and the false and unsound will be vanquished, but only through open discussion. Our campuses' fixation on safe places, trigger warnings, and perpetual victimization is not only wimpy, it's intellectually dishonest.
Colin Roth.
My winner this week is Fox Business Network, who put on a solid and substantive debate and ensured Milwaukee looked great in the process. My loser is the First Amendment, which is slowly being eroded by campus authoritarians who are afraid that debate and dialogue might invade their safe space.
Well, my winner, Milwaukee. Last week we were in the national spotlight and the city looked mighty fine. Loser, State Senator Lena Taylor, who demonstrated her support for the protesters outside the debate by posting a picture of a man stomping on an American flag. As it turns out, Lena Taylor took the picture herself and apparently didn't see anything that bothered her or that was outrageous about somebody vandalizing the flag the night before Veterans Day. Classy. Thanks for joining us. Join me for my radio show Monday morning on News Radio 620 WTMJ from 8:30 until noon. Have a great week.